What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Spurs beat Crystal Palace by 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. And let's get straight into it, starting off with Fraser Forster. Sixes all round for Big Fraser. I mean, 2 shots on target, both fairly easy to deal with. Didn't really have much else to do during the game, so quite a day for him, to be fair.
Yeah, there was only one moment where he flapped across, didn't he? And he had to get bailed out from his defenders. But other than that, it was a simple day. 2 easy saves. I think he was well protected this time from his defence, unlike the other few weeks. So easy day for Fraser.
Yeah. Next up, Emerson Royal, who started on the right of a back 3 in a hybrid formation. He was at right back at times as well, and I thought he put in a sensational performance yesterday. Defensively, absolutely on point. I thought he shackled Zaha really well throughout the day. And look, he came in and our defence basically improved tenfold after him coming in and Dyer coming out the team. So I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, if this was the start of an experiment, I'd like to see more of it, because I do think it was a big success after yesterday. I thought he was really good in the wide areas. I thought he dealt with Zaha really well. I think he kind of stuck to his strengths, which was defending, defending on the ground up against fast wingers, not adventuring too far forward as well. And I think that's probably his best role, and I think it helps the rest of the team as well, his positioning. So it's something I want to see more of.
Yeah. Moving on to Cuti Romero, 9s all round from us in the middle of a back 3 for the first time this season. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Head and shoulders above everyone on that football pitch. Cool, calm, composed, didn't put a foot wrong. His tackling was absolutely on point. I mean, the stats bear it out. I mean, 96 touches, which is the most in the game. 7 clearances, which is the most out of anyone on the pitch. 5 interceptions, which is the most for anyone on the pitch. 12 recoveries, which is the most for anyone on the pitch. And also won the most duels, 9 out of 11, more than anyone on the pitch. So it was an absolutely stellar display. Hit the bar in the early stages as well from a header and from a corner. And he nearly got an amazing assist for Sonny as well, where he had a lovely dink over the top where Sonny went through on goal and should have done better. But look, this guy was absolutely no fault at all yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was near perfect, to be honest. A really strong display for Romero. He was wasn't overly aggressive, and as well, he was like our chief creator at times. I felt he was the only player getting the service to the front 3 when they were in space, and the other players, I think, really struggled to do so. And it was only when Romero was on the ball that we seemed to progress the ball higher up the pitch. So I think it wasn't just off the ball where he was our best player, but on the ball, I thought he was one of our best players as well. So really good, and I want to see more of him in this position.
Yeah, moving on to Clement Lenglet, 7s all round from us, and I thought this was one of his better displays in a Spurs shirt for sure. Defensively, really sound. I don't think much got past him throughout the day. And he made a really good tactical foul later on in the game, leading with his arm and getting booked and causing himself an injury in the process as well. But I thought all in all, he put in a really good display yesterday, Clement.
Yeah, not too much to complain. I think Olise was pretty quiet. I think Olise is the one shot Olise did have. He did have to cut inside and got past Lenglet for it. But I think Lenglet, by and large, was pretty solid. Didn't have too much in terms of progressing the ball forward. He was pretty pragmatic during the game. But I thought he had put in a solid display and wasn't getting beaten, and you worry about him against people like Olise and Ayew, and he did well.
Moving on to Ben Davies at left wing back. Sim gives him a 7. I give him a 7 as well. And again, I thought it was a really competent display from Ben Davies, especially defensively. Even going forward, he was contributing at times with a lovely ball over the top of Pedro Porro, where he just shifted outside and had a crack at it. But look, I think that in terms of going forward, obviously Perisic offers us a lot more going forward than Ben Davies did. But I thought it was a nice, solid display from Ben Davies yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty aggressive. He also did get booked for a foul on Olise as well. And I thought, by and large, down the left-hand side, he was providing a good option. Didn't get forward too many times. He did earn a free kick, which got, I think, Joel Ward booked late on in the game as well. So he did have a few forays forward, but obviously there's a night and day between what Perisic can provide. But I thought he was decent. I thought he was, again, in the hybrid system, he would hang back and allow Porro to get forward on the opposite side. So I think that was probably instruction. So not too many complaints from him. Just like to see more of him if he's going to be in that position in the opposition's half.
Moving on to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in the middle. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. Again, I mean, classic Højbjerg, to be honest. Putting himself about a lot of challenges, albeit not a lot of one challenges. But I felt like we needed more from Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and I felt a lot of the lulls in the games was to do with our midfield not really being able to put it about and make good passes. And I think Højbjerg was central to that, to be honest. I mean, there were good times and some bad times in there from Pierre, but I felt like in the first half he was actually better than he was in the second half. But I want to see more from Pierre, especially going forward.
Yeah, I didn't have too many complaints. I felt like up against Schlupp and Decore and Eze, it was very difficult to get the supply to the midfielders from the centre-back, so it led to them having a bit less of the ball. But he did have a few nice moments. He made a really nice 1-2 of Harry Kane running in behind, and probably should have done better with the finish. And I thought his switches of play, he probably had a few, some mixed results. Some of them were really good, and then some of them got cut out early. So I think he competed pretty well with the midfield three as well off the ball. So I think overall was okay. But yeah, I think we want to see a bit more from him as well on the ball.
Moving on to Ollie Skipp, 7 from Sim, 6 from me. A bit similar to Højbjerg, to be honest. Again, he was putting himself about, really aggressive, a lot of fouls on the day from Ollie Skipp, and he was running around with that headband on his head again, but lacking quality on the ball, I felt.
Yeah, again, mixed results with his switches of play. When they were good, they were on point, but then a couple of times he overhit a couple, and that was a big shame. But I thought he was actually the one trying to drive forward a bit more out of the two. He picked the ball up from Romero a couple of times and was able to find a bit of space. But again, space was hard to come by in the midfield because of Palace's midfield three. But he was definitely he was one who was probably getting forward a bit more in terms of charging forward, but in terms of being in the final third, he was definitely a bit more reserved. He was allowing Højbjerg to do a bit more of that. Again, I thought he was solid. I think he carried on a solid display from Anfield, better than I think he was in the previous games.
Moving on to the right wing back, Pedro Porro, 8 all round from us, and there was good and bad in there from Porro. We'll start off with the bad, and that was him being a bit weak defensively, as we've seen in the past, but I don't think it was as bad as we have seen in previous weeks. But going forward, it's night and day to what anyone else that we have in that position, to be honest. His set pieces as well, I thought were absolutely spot on. One of them hits the head of Romero, and that bashes across the crossbar, and he gets the assist for Harry Kane, which was an unbelievable cross right on the money. And he was just causing problems for Crystal Palace all night long, to be honest. There was one where Ben Davies plays a great ball over the top for Pedro Porro. He shifts outside and shoots, and the keeper just smacks it over the bar. And look, I thought Pedro Porro going forward was a shining light, to be honest.
Yeah, the only down marks, I guess, Zaha a couple of times was able to outmuscle him and shield the ball from him and get away from him, and he was forced to make a few fouls, and it forced Emerson to bail him out. But when he gets in that final third, you just know that delivery is going to be good. Whether we score from it, not necessarily, but we know it's his delivery more often than not is going to be on the money, and we're going to get a chance from it. And you can trust him now. You can see the players are finding him in every opportunity, whereas when Emerson or Doherty were in those positions, you never trusted them to be able to pick out a man. But Harry Kane said after the game, his delivery is absolutely brilliant, and he showed it again with another assist. That's 2 goals and 3 assists, I think, since coming to the Premier League, which is impressive numbers considering he's still a new player. And he's now seen, as you say, he's on set pieces now, and I think he should stick on set pieces. I thought the deliveries were really strong. They had really good whip on them, and they looked really dangerous. He had a free kick as well late in the game, which flashed just wide. So I think Porro, the signs are promising. He just needs to tighten up. I'm sure in a different structure he'll look even more effective, but I'm liking what I've seen from Pedro Porro, to be honest, and for a player who's come under a lot of criticism. Yeah,
absolutely. Moving on to Richarlison, 6s all round from us. Pretty much a display that we've been accustomed to seeing Richarlison. A lot of running, a lot of aggression, a lot of backing into players and tiring them out, but with little quality on the ball, to be honest.
Yeah, he worked hard for the team. He was winning a lot of headers and doing good defensive stuff, but when it came to the final third, he was trying to link up with Sonny and Kane. Wasn't really happening for him. His first touch wasn't brilliant as it usually is. He had kind of mixed results with his first touch. Wasn't getting the service either. But I felt like a lot of the time he was flirting between being on the right, being in the centre, being on the left. He was kind of looked like he was given a bit of license to move around a bit, although predominantly he did seem to be more on the right than anywhere else. But I feel like he needs to be getting in the box more, especially when we have someone like Porro on the right-hand side. I feel like that's where he would really benefit more than most from being on the left-hand side. Whereas from the right-hand side, I think it's difficult for Porro to be able to find him in those positions if he's getting in the box, because he's going to be closer to him. But if he's arriving in the back post from the left, like with a diagonal run, then I think it'll be much better for Porro to pick him out from the right hand side. So that's why most of all I'd like to see him on the left. And again, from the right, he just seemed a bit ineffective on the ball, and that was a shame. But I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was like a liability or anything, but didn't really get involved. I think he was in terms of supply, he struggled to get the supply to him.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, if you're playing in a front three, you need to impact the game more than he does, to be honest. And I want to see more from Richarlison, especially going forward. But let's move on to Harry Kane. Sevens all round for Harry. And a bit uncharacteristic from Harry, his passing yesterday. I felt a lot of them were wayward, or a lot of them were like kind of one-touch passes, and it just wasn't going to the intended target, to be honest, and get snuffed out a lot. But he did help the team a lot, coming deep and spreading the play like he always does to Pedro Porro and of the like. And obviously he got the goal and we won 1-0, so you got to give him a step up for that and a mark up for that. And if he didn't get that goal, probably would rate him down to a 6. But again, like if Richarlison puts in the carbon copy display that he did yesterday, Richarlison probably gets an 8, and that probably goes to the quality of Harry Kane.
Yeah, and when he was involved, the quality's there. You know, playing a really nice through ball to COYS, who should have done better. Obviously, heavily involved with the goal with a brilliant ball. Like how the vision he has to see Porro in that position and play a brilliant ball. The ball was absolutely inch perfect for Porro to run onto, and then he goes and makes it onto the back post and beats Ward to the header as well. So I think it was really good. Second half, he was less involved, to be honest. Wasn't really getting on the ball, and I think throughout the game he was quiet. But when he was involved, he showed his quality, and that's what good players can do. You know, you see a lot of, even like someone like Haaland, you see him, he's barely involved, and then he'll just come up with some quality when it matters. And I think Harry Kane, that was that kind of performance from him yesterday. So very few complaints and loads of records broken as well.
Yeah. Last in the playing staff is Heung-min Son. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. And I was impressed with Sonny's performance yesterday. Not the way he was attacking, but the way he was helping out the team, kept coming back, making really important interceptions, really important tackles. There was one really important header interception as well, which, Palace really could have been in there if he didn't make that. So I thought he did a really good job for the team. In terms of going forward, I mean, he was trying to create an option, but it was hard with the way Crystal Palace was set up, to be honest. But the one time he did get in behind them when Romero played him over the top, I felt he should have done a lot better with that chance, and he made it quite easy for Sam Johnson to save it. But no, look, I was happy with Sonny's performance yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great take, though. Brilliant take down from Romero to put it into his path. But yeah, Son, 9 times out of 10, he's finishing from that position, so he'll be really disappointed. I actually felt like he was really good when he picked up the ball in central areas compared to maybe previously. He was finding different pockets of space, and he wasn't getting crowded out and losing the ball very easily like he has been a lot this season. And a lot of the time he's picking the ball up with his back to goal. And actually, I felt like this time around he's trying to pick the ball up a lot more with his front facing the goal rather than his back to goal, where he's a lot stronger when he's running at players and being direct. And I thought he was probably our brightest attacker on that sense. And I thought defensively, as you said, a lot of good interceptions, a lot of vital moments. And I thought it was a really positive display from Sonny. One of the few times he can have a good game without being on the score sheet, I felt.
Yeah. And last but not least, let's finish off with Ryan Mason. 8 all round from him, and props to him for yesterday, to be honest, because we've been calling for ages for a change of system, for Emerson in the back three, and he did all that. And I felt like the system that he did implement yesterday, a hybrid of 5 at the back and 4 at the back, really did get the best out of Emerson, got the best out of Romero, and got the best out of Pedro Porro as well. And I felt like it really did go that way to winning us the game. Obviously, the goal came from Pedro Porro with a brilliant cross, and the defence was pretty much spot on yesterday, with Romero having his best game of the season, Emerson filling in for the first time in an experimental role in a back three. I thought it was just absolutely superb. So you've got to give credit to Mason where credit's due for implementing that system and making it work.
Yeah, and he got the win. I do think, in a weird way, we probably looked better on the ball in the last couple of games with the chances we created than we did in this game. Yeah. But we did look a lot very solid. We didn't concede many chances, and maybe that was like the goal going into this game, considering how leaky would be in at the back. Over the past few games, we had to make sure that we weren't conceding any stupid chances, and I think we did that. And obviously, the moments of quality came, and they told. So credit to Ryan Mason, credit for implementing Emerson's new position as well. That was a big positive. And yeah, fair play to him.
All right, so there you have it. That is our player ratings for the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. Spurs are back to winning ways. Let's see how long it lasts for. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,